What does it feel like when a rivalry finally remembers its name? When the air around a stadium tightens like a held breath and every play feels like an answer to a question you've been asking all season? Tonight in Orchard Park, Buffalo didn't just win a game, they reminded a conference and maybe themselves what it means to be a contender. The final, Bills 28, Chiefs 21. Josh Allen with 3 touchdowns, a surgical day through the air, and a defense that refused to let Patrick Mahomes be magical. Reuters, from the first snap, you could tell this wasn't going to be your ordinary Sunday. There was a look in Allen's eyes that felt like a man who had practiced saying, "Not today," to a very specific opponent. He was precise and calm. 23 completions on 26 throws, 273 yards, 1 passing score, and 2 goal line rushes that felt less like heroics and more like punctuation. Neat, emphatic, final. That kind of efficiency isn't flashy. It's devastating. It grinds a defense down until the scoreboard starts answering in your favor. CBS Sports, but there are 2 halves to every great script: offense and the other side of the ball. Buffalo's defense came to play angry and smart. They harried Mahomes, turned pressure into panic, and turned panic into punts. Mahomes finished with one of the more baffling stat lines you'll see from a generational quarterback: 15 of 34, 250 yards, no passing touchdowns, and an interception that felt like the final heartbeat of the game. When your opponent is Patrick Mahomes and you still force him into a game that looks ordinary, you have done something worth noticing. Reuters. The game's architecture leaned on small, critical moments. Early on, Buffalo's defense stood its ground at the goal line and forced a turnover on downs. That set a tone. Later, a false start and a missed field goal for Kansas City turned what might have been a comeback into a footnote. But the real hinge came late. A gutsy 4th and 17 conversion by Mahomes breathed life into Kansas City, and for a moment the stadium's optimism thinned. Then, like a punctuation mark added with intent, rookie Maxwell Hairston grabbed an interception that froze the comeback and gave Buffalo the ball back when the game still lived on a knife edge. That single grab turned a near disaster into a narrative of control. CBS Sports. What's fascinating is how the Bills balanced brute force with surgeon's hands. James Cook grinded for 114 yards, physically erasing time with each carry, while Dalton Kincaid reliably moved the sticks and finished with a 100-yard night. Those 2 pieces allowed Allen to be choosy, to pick his throws and his moments. Running the ball and controlling the clock isn't glamorous, but it's the type of unflashy muscle that converts close wins into season momentum. Reuters. If you want theater, look to the final sequence. The Chiefs clawed back and put themselves within shouting distance. Buffalo's Matt Prater then nearly gave the Chiefs life when his 52-yard attempt hit the right upright. For a second, the whole stadium inhaled like a single body. Could the Chiefs pull the miracle down the stretch? They got close enough to test fate, but on the final plays, pressure from Joey Bosa and the steady hand of Buffalo's sidelines forced 3 incomplete throws from Mahomes, the last of which was batted down and sealed by Hairston's earlier interception. It was a team-wide closure, a defense imposing its will, and an offense that managed the clock like a trusted old friend. CBS Sports. Let's give the defensive pass rush its due. Bosa arrived in Buffalo this offseason because the Bills needed an edge wrecker, a man who could collapse pockets and make Mahomes uncomfortable. Tonight he did just that. Sacks, QB hits, pressure that accumulated like interest on a loan. When your front 4 consistently scrambles a quarterback's rhythm, even a magician becomes mortal. That pressure made the rest of the defense's life easier. It's the ancient rule of football. You don't have to stop every play if you can make the opponent respect collapse. CBS Sports Brownthers. And then there's the story that sits quiet under the numbers: narrative and meaning. For Buffalo, this was more than a win. It was a weather vane change in a season that has had more dips than fans wanted. A 6-2 record and a tiebreaker over Kansas City are now concrete things, not hope pieces. For Josh Allen, who has been tested by injuries, expectations, and history, this night stitched together performance and intention. He set a milestone with his rushing TD, the kind of personal stat that also reads like a family photo in a player's timeline. It reminds you who you are. Reuters. For Kansas City, the loss hurts in a different way. Andy Reid's team has been a model of late-game consistency for years. To watch drives stall and to see Mahomes fight with timing and placement is to watch the script flip. This isn't doom. The Chiefs will adjust. But tonight belonged to Buffalo because they turned disruption into advantage and advantage into the kind of defensive stands that win championships. There are human moments that don't show up on the box score but linger longer than stats. Maxwell Hairston's interception, a rookie's dream, in only his second game back from injury, was one of those. You could see the disbelief in his eyes, the slow realization that he had just altered a football game at the highest level. Cole Bishop's clutch pass breakups, the veteran ways of Matt Prater under pressure, and the quiet intensity of players like James Cook add up to a team that behaves like a unit rather than a collection of stars. That cohesion is the invisible currency of late-season success. BuffaloBills.com. And there's this. Rivalries are more than history. They're therapy. Buffalo has been haunted by playoff exits to Kansas City in recent years. Even a regular season win has the power to reshape confidence. To beat the team that has been your nemesis is not to exorcise ghosts entirely, but it changes how you dream on the way home. It gives coaches cover to get bold, and it gives players permission to believe in the feel of their own work. Tonight's win is a small exorcism, loud, imperfect, and very much alive. AP News, of course, caution is necessary. This is a long season. The Bills will face tougher matchups. The Chiefs will return hungrier. Injuries will whisper and sometimes shout. Buffalo lost Michael Hoke to a torn Achilles late in the game, a brutal blow that will test depth and heart. The ledger of a season is long and cruel. One win doesn't secure a destiny, but it does create momentum. And in football, momentum is a currency that buys you everything from belief to better matchups in January. Reuters. So what do we keep? We keep that football is an accumulation of small acts, rushes, blocks, a timely interception, a missed kick hitting an upright that stack into a season's architecture. We keep that a quarterback doesn't need to do everything to be overwhelmingly important. Sometimes being accurate and decisive is enough to flip a game. And we keep the image from tonight that will live longest. Josh Allen, breathing through a final drive, teammates around him, defense snapping a late attempt into the air, and fans realizing in a single staggered exhale that their team just reclaimed more than a win. They reclaimed a sense of what they can be. Play the film back and you'll see the moving parts. Precision offense, relentless pressure, a rookie seizing his moment, and a coaching staff that trusted balance over bravado. The scoreboard said 28-21. The deeper scorecard reads, Buffalo reminded the league they are not done, they are dangerous, and in the messy months ahead, they will be counted. For one cold night in November, a rivalry was renewed, a narrative bent, and a season's pulse found its rhythm again.